Back in 2021, when I first got into the Haval H6, I was shocked. It was making me question how pricing of cars is done, because when I'm looking at the value and how much of a car that is compared to the asking price, at the time, it was the luxury variant that I was looking at. I remember it was below 500,000, and I couldn't believe it because I hadn't seen anything like that. Then in less than a year, we were still trying to make sense of that. Chery drops a 7-seater for less than 550,000, the Tiggo 8 Pro, and I was just like, what is happening here? Because this is not what we know of cars, especially of the quality that we were getting. It was right there that I concluded that only the Chinese can do it like that. But it looks like someone else was watching. Someone else was saying they can't do it alone. And that was Mahindra. Because today we are in a car that is bringing questions to Haval and Chery in terms of pricing versus value. And that is the XUV700. Or Mahindra calls it XUV700. And that's what we're going to be dissecting today to try and understand what it offers and how it makes us feel on the road. Otherwise, welcome to the channel. I am Siwa and I appreciate that you're here with me today. As usual, this is going to be a conversation around the car and everything that it offers. And don't mind me when I'm playing with the screen and fiddling with whatever buttons that are on the car as we're driving. We're just having a conversation and we're going to be focusing a whole lot more on how this car makes us feel. Talking about how this car makes us feel, that's where we're going to start. Especially on the road, because that's where you get to use feelings to experience the car rather than what you are seeing in front of you. So I've been using this car as my daily for the last 6 or so days, and I'm so impressed with what Mahindra is offering here. Over the last few years, should I say 2 or so years since Chery came, we've been doing reviews in such a way that you have to separate Chery and Haval from the rest in their segment to say, you know what, except for these ones, this is the competition and how it's coming together. Then you bring in them. I think that bucket is growing because of the XUV700. When I'm looking at how they've priced it and what they're offering with it, because you start with the AX5, which is the lowest spec, coming at 475,000 rands. Then you go to AX7, which is mid-spec, at 525,000 rand. Then in this one, AX7 L, top spec, you're only going to pay 560,000 rand. The numbers after AX seem to be representing seating capacity, because the AX5 is a 5-seater and the AX7 and 7L are 7-seaters. I looked up performance figures of this car before I picked it up. I saw that it's quite powerful because it's like 149 kilowatts, 380 Newton meters of torque. That's a lot of torque for a petrol engine, actually. So I don't even know how they've done it, but they've done it. And I had an idea because I was testing the XUV300 late last year and it had 300 Newton meters of torque. I just thought, you know what, if Mahindra could do it like that in that smaller car, in this big one, it's going to be something else. And something else it is. Look, this engine, 2-liter turbocharged, as I said, 149 kilowatts, 380 Newton meters of torque. It's mated to a 6-speed automatic, and this is the party piece for me in this car. Listen, if this engine was coded to have a dictionary, the word panic was not gonna be in that dictionary. This is amazing power delivery. This car is quite heavy, 2 tons by the way, but the way it manages to pull as light as it feels, I'm shocked, because Mahindra's got it so right in terms of how they need to balance a heavy car with the torque and power figures. On the screen right now, it actually shows how it delivers the power and the torque. It doesn't even need a lot of power to actually get moving. Just feeding the torque as early as 1,750 RPM and it gets you going. That contributes a lot to how this car feels, especially because when you are moving from a standstill, it's way lighter than a lot of cars that are appearing to have big numbers. For example, 150 kilowatts in the H6. When I'm looking at the 145 kilowatts that is in the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, I'm thinking they feel a little bit heavy to actually move compared to the Mahindra. They're powerful, but the way this one feels, it's completely different to those cars. I had 6 adults in the car at some point, and I was impressed with how it performed because it did not make it feel like it's struggling, especially because it was a hot day. We had the aircon on. I mean, all the rows, you do get vents in the third row, in the second row, obviously in the front as well. But it made light of that trip. This engine does not know how to panic at all. Let me reduce the speed to as low as around 20 kilometers per hour and pull it from there. I'm not even going to put full throttle, but you'll see how it performs. I'm actually quite impressed with it, especially because it's so heavy. And then the engine settles as you get to your desired speed. I like how the 6-speed auto in here is also responding to the throttle input, because once you put your foot down a bit, it understands that now you need more power in lower gears and it can hold them. You know what? They've done a great job in how this car is performing when it comes to the engine and transmission. But when you're on the road, there's just a lot more to consider than just engine performance, especially if you're doing long journeys. You need the comfort, and comfort comes in many ways, from the way you're feeling with the suspension all the way to the noises that are in the cabin and so on. Can I complain from that angle? Nope, I can't, because they've got it right. I think the proportions of this car are so well considered, especially for comfort when it comes to 7-seater, because some of them are so long that you can feel at the tail end that it's not comfortable out there. When you're hitting, like, or when you're getting on a speed bump, that's when it can tell you, because of the way it's landing at the back. You can feel that, okay, you know what, I don't think the people at the back are so comfortable. But in here, I feel that it's stiff enough for you to manage those bumpy roads, especially when it comes to the back, because in front right here, I can't complain much about the suspension. Yes, other people may feel like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit too soft or whatever, but for me, it's perfect for a car that is going to be used not for anything else, but for family and comfort. And if you choose to pick it up for your daily commute as well, that's something that's going to impress you, because as big as it is, it doesn't make you feel like that. I've already explained that it doesn't feel heavy to the foot, so that's a plus for me, because when you're moving with the car every day, you don't want a car that's too heavy when you're moving it. And it manages somehow, as big as it is, to fit through some tight spaces with ease, because I think the way the steering wheel is calibrated, it manages to turn around with ease. It doesn't feel too heavy. I didn't find any modes to actually adjust the steering wheel in any way, but I find that it's perfectly calibrated. I'm not complaining with how it turns. The vision as well, I'm finding it to be perfect, because you can take the seat up or down or whatever adjustments that you want to make based on your height and obviously body proportions and so on. And if there's something that you're not going to run short of, is the amount of advanced assistance on the road in this car. It is packed with features. Blind spot monitoring is here. That is appearing on the screen. I remember I've seen this in the Kias as well. I think the Hyundai as well has it. And then when it comes to adaptive cruise control, together with lane keeping assist and centering, probably the best, or one of the best that I've experienced, regardless of price point. Because this one, the way it's so responsive and the way it manages to actually pick up what is happening on the road is quite amazing. Even at some point where there were no lanes, it manages at least to just pick up that, you know what, on this side there is, on the right side maybe there's a lane, I can use that to actually balance the car. This is one of the best aiders. This has really impressed me to the highest level, because the cameras working all the time, never having issues with any system that they said is going to be here. The braking on cruise control, whether you're putting it 4-car lengths, 2-car lengths, it manages to adjust so well. Doesn't matter whether it's at night or what. I did this at night as well. I've already uploaded the video. You can go check it out, where it was just driving itself at night as well. And if there's something that's going to add to your overall pleasure of traveling in this car, is definitely the sound system. They got it right, especially for a big car like this. This is like a big room, and they managed to put the speakers in the right areas for you to just enjoy the sound system. 12 speakers, Sony sound system with a subwoofer, and wow, it does sound amazing. Yes, it's not perfect, especially if you take the volume too high. I feel like the subwoofer is starting to panic a bit, but if you take it low, maybe that's when then you can just play it like loud. But you don't really need to do that, especially if you're just with your family and so on. You do get enough volume or loudness that will just cater for your needs and have the most fun with the sound system. Now let's test it. Yep, that's how it sounds. It sounds amazing, whether you're doing high speed, whether you're just doing low speed, or you're just chilling in the car. Now, let's switch and go to the gravel road. That whining sound is the sound of the seat coming back to its position, because when you leave the car, it actually takes the seat backwards so that you can be able to go out. That happens automatically. Then when you come back in, it takes it back to your normal position. I've seen this in the Kia Sportage as well, but in here I'm not finding it to be functioning so perfectly, because in the Kia it was taking you back to that position. I don't know if maybe there's something that I was not doing right, because this one I felt that I didn't leave it in this position and I have to adjust it myself. And of course we can expect less from the systems in here. Looking at the screens, you can just see for sure that there's Android Auto and CarPlay. Unfortunately in South Africa we don't get that Alexa, what is that thing that they call it, voice assistance, that can open windows and do everything else through the Adreno system that is in here. I see it is here, but I don't know if you're going to be getting it at a later stage. Okay, let's get moving. Unfortunately, for those who love Mahindra cars for their diesel engines offering all-wheel drive as well, this is not one of them, at least for now. I've seen that internationally, I think there's a diesel with all-wheel drive. I hope that's going to come to South Africa, because I know Mahindra fans love diesel engines that are coming from Mahindra. You can just see from that pickup that it struggled a little bit for traction because it's a 4x2, but once it gets going, I'm not necessarily worried because this is a Mahindra and we're here to test if all the panels in here and everything else is tightly screwed or glued together. Well, because of the experience I had in it, I never really find myself losing confidence in this car, whether on tar road, bumpy road, or even here on gravel. As much as it's a 4x2, when it comes to the panels and how they're put together and everything else, yes, I could see that there is plastic usage in the interior, even in the way that they design the dashboard on top, the door panels on the side as well. When I'm looking at the stuff that is just by the center console as well down there, there are plastics, but I never really got worried that it's going to be a car that it's rattling a lot because of just how solid it feels. And that's what I'm experiencing right now. There's a lot of rocks that are just hitting on the undercarriage. I can feel that for sure. But overall, it's not a car that you're not going to say, hey, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm going to take it off-road. I do get cars like that I review and be like, straight up, when I'm driving it, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to take this anywhere else. This is where I'm ending it. But in here, it's completely different because Mahindra, as they sell themselves, or they change the slogan, I'm not sure, because they're saying they sell authentic bikies and SUVs. They're telling you that they're built to last. We've been seeing that over the years. That's why I'm never really scared of taking Mahindra on a gravel road like this, and I am not disappointed at all, because even when you're doing high speed, you can really feel that, you know, this guy is planned. As much as it's a 4x2, and you need to be careful because, you know, if you just swerve as quickly as a 4x4, for example, you're not going to survive that. You need to be careful, especially for sandy areas and so on. You need to be very careful of those because this is still a two-wheel drive and not necessarily a four-wheel drive. But hey, on the gravel road, again, this doesn't show any signs of panic or falling apart whatsoever. I'm doing just above 100 kilometers per hour and I'm confident. Just be a little careful on the cabs because besides the fact that it's a 4x2, you know, it doesn't have wide tires. I think it's 235/60 R18 tires, which, yeah, it's not as wide, especially for a car as big as this. So I could experience even on the tar road that, you know what, the rolling is there a bit and it might be contributed to tires that look a little bit slim. Here as well, you just need to be aware of that and just know the limitations. Don't overdo it. But as nice as it is to drive this car overall, if fuel economy is number one on your list when you're buying a car, this might not be the car for you, because I don't remember doing anything less than 9.9 over the last 700 or so kilometers that I've done over this test period. I was averaging 9.9, 10.1, all the way to 10.5 and coming back down and so on. So just be aware of that, especially on short distances. It's not going to be the easiest for you. But hey, a car is more than just everything that we spoke about right now. There is an element of how it looks, how it makes you feel just to look at it when you're approaching your own car and you turn back to look at it. And I think Mahindra has gotten a lot right, especially from the design point of view. When I'm looking at the exterior from the front as well, just the way it is, this new Twin Peaks logo is adding a lot to, you know, that premium element compared to the previous Mahindra logo that was there. And when I'm looking at the front as well, the C-shaped lights, it's more common that, I mean, more people are using them now. And someone was saying, no, it looks like this and that. And I was like, you know what, car trends are like that. It's the same with when I'm looking at this screen right now inside. Someone might say, oh, it started with Mercedes-Benz, but you know how it goes. Same as sequential indicators is something that started somewhere and now everyone's just doing it. So car trends are like that. But coming to the side as well, for a 7-seater, I don't feel that it's overly stretched at the back for me not to like it. I like it as well from how it looks. The tires, I feel like they're a little bit too slim for me. And that's where maybe I have a little bit of a complaint when it comes to design. I mean, you can change them, but I wouldn't advise you to change them because it looks okay the way it is. Coming to the back as well, distinctive LED design, I can't complain about that as well. Just looking at it, I think Mahindra has done a great job in how this car looks. When you jump inside, you're going to find yourself in a car that I think a year or two ago, I wouldn't even think it's a Mahindra. If you close this badge and ask me which car it is, I wouldn't pick a Mahindra because I was not a fan of Mahindra's interiors for a long time. But this is the turning point. just getting in, I mean, this interior color works, right? This bright color works, especially when you have a bright roof like this, it works. But the question is, can it last over a long time? I've seen cars that has this kind of interiors, and over time, the cracks that are showing on the leathers and so on, it looks a little bit like off. And now you have piano black as well, which looks amazing. This car looks amazing, especially the way they managed to put everything together. But this piano black, this color that is bright, if it gets old and the scratches on the piano black and this is cracking and so on the leather, it's going to be something else. Funny enough, I'm not sure if you can spec it without the bright colors and just use black, because I would go for black. But hey, you can't complain about how beautiful it looks right now. I mean, this looks amazing. The seats as well, the way they look, the design, they didn't just give us functional things. You know, Mahindra used to be about utility, but right now I feel like they're getting to a point of saying enough is enough. I'm also coming in to show you that we can design good looking cars. I mean, whether you're looking at this car at night or during the day, there is just a lot to look at. People have been looking at this car. Some have been wondering what car is this because of the new badge and so on. But Mahindra has managed to give us a car that actually looks quite the part. And we can't forget that this is a 7-seater. So from the practicality point of view, there's just a lot to consider when it comes to how they managed to put this car in proportions and so on. This is quite a lengthy car. And when it comes to 7-seaters, especially if you're going to be using it a lot as a 5-seater, you can't complain about space in the cabin, because this is a long car, 4.7 meters in terms of length and almost 2 meters, around 1.9 in width. It's boasting a wheelbase of around 2.75 meters, which is enough for everyone who's sitting inside. And also at the back, because normally at the back, you know, with 7-seaters, it's mostly just for kids. It's not different with this one as well. The space is almost that way. But I traveled with an adult before. It was not necessarily for a very long journey, but they were just okay. Not that they could do from like here to, okay, should I say like 300 kilometers or something, because that was going to be a little bit too tight. And just like with most 7-seaters, when you put up the seats at the back, oh, the space is, it's not enough. You're not going to be able to put anything else. So that means you're going to need a trailer or a roof box or something like that, so that you can be able to put everything else, because the space is just not going to be enough. I like the fact that the exterior and interior lighting, they did not compromise there when it comes to that. LEDs across. I've already posted a video with the night features and everything else. You can go check it out, but they did not compromise. Cornering lights, I'm talking fog lights on the exterior, main lights, DRLs at the rear as well, distinctive. When you come inside, amazing LEDs that illuminate so well at night. You need to go check it out, that video. You will see how it is amazing. They've done a great job with the lighting in this car. And then when you look up to the ceiling, you're going to see one of the biggest panoramic sunroofs. I don't even know if it's the biggest for me, but it might be. Mahindra's calling it sky roof, and they have a reason to call it that because it's so long. This is a lot of specs and car for what they're asking from you. I mean, you don't always see something like this unless you're at Cherry and at Haval. As I've already mentioned, that the Tiggo 8 Pro and the Haval H6 are probably the ones that you're going to be looking at when you're looking at this. As much as the Haval H6 is just a 5-seater, this obviously has an advantage over that. But when I'm looking at these three cars, right, the H6, I'm talking about the normal ones, because the other ones are out of the price point. The H6 GT and also the hybrid, they are quite expensive compared to this one, so I'm not gonna look at them in that sense. But when I'm looking at the H6, the normal one, I think compared to this one is a touch more premium feeling, especially with the materials. I think because they chose to use soft touch materials throughout the cabin, so it's a little bit like more premium feeling than this one. But when it comes to the engine performance, it's almost equally matched, just that no, this one, I'm still in for this one. And when I'm looking at the Tiggo 8 Pro as well, I'm looking at the normal one, not the 8 Pro Max, because that's out of the price point, and as well it's way more powerful. I haven't driven it, but 180 plus kilowatts is not a joke. What is definitely going to be most attractive when you're comparing the Cherry and this one, for example, is definitely going to be that 1 million engine warranty if you're going to be keeping the Cherry for too long. But where this one is going to eat for sure, it's the performance. I find it to be well tuned in a way that, you know what, it's mind-blowing actually. The ADAS system in here, it's just a notch above normal. It's just precise. I love it for that. And those are the two areas that I think this one has a competitive edge over the other two. When it comes to fuel consumption, I feel that I can't even separate them because yeah, maybe over time they do go down and so on, but they all, in my experience, they range around 10 liters to 100. So I can't even say they're separate in any way. And should you decide to pick it up, all derivatives come standard with 5-year or 150,000 kilometer warranty, which I feel is generous as well, or a 5-year 100,000 kilometer service plan. But overall, what do I think of this car? I mean, for me, if I'm going to compete with anyone on anything, I'm going to do what Mahindra has done right now because this is a great offering. I mean, I can't complain much about this car. In fact, the biggest thing that stands out for me to talk about is the fuel consumption. And besides that, the performance that you're getting of it, it's also reasonable for the fuel consumption that it's giving. And for that, I say Mahindra has done a great job. If there's one thing that I'm certain of, is that a lot of people love Mahindras for their diesel engines and they are performing well even in diesel variants. So Mahindra, please, if you can, get the diesel variant here as soon as possible because this is in for the win. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it and I am out.